Hi, I'm Bobby, and things are pretty quiet today on Dusty Old Movies because I'm reviewing my first silent movie, Nosferatu. I had wanted to rent Nosferatu for years. I heard it was great, and I knew it was Dracula, and you know how I feel about Dracula. But I'll say it, I avoided it because it was silent. I thought I would get bored or that I wouldn't understand what was going on. But one day I said, okay, I'm watching this movie. And my concerns were groundless, because even though I couldn't hear its bark, Nosferatu had a very big bite. In 1921, two occultists, Enrico Deichmann and Alban Grau, founded the German movie studio Piranha Films, which would produce films focusing on the occult and the supernatural. For their first project, Alban Grau remembered when he was in World War I, and a Serbian farmer went up to him and said that his father had become an undead vampire. This inspired Grau to make a vampire movie. The hugely talented and openly gay World War I veteran F.W. Murnau was hired to direct. Murnau was no stranger to horror, having previously directed The Head of Janus, which was a loose adaptation of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, featuring Conrad Veidt as the Dr. Jekyll character, and future Dracula actor Bela Lugosi as the butler, seen here on the right. So he was the perfect choice to bring Bram Stoker's Dracula to the screen. However, no one in the company either bothered or knew to get the film rights from Bram Stoker's widow, Florence Stoker. This mistake would later come back to bite them, and not in the throat. Instead, Murnau did what he did with Jekyll and Hyde. He just changed the character names. So Count Dracula became Count Orlok. Although there were other story changes, there is no doubt that the cast and crew were embarking on making the first Dracula movie, and a true symphony of horrors. Because Nosferatu is in public domain, there are several different versions floating around. Different versions have different music. Some versions have color tints to indicate day and night, while others are in black and white. Some have additional scenes, and some use the Nosferatu names like Count Orlok, Knock, and Hutter, while others use the Dracula names like Count Dracula, Renfield, and Harker. But the basic plot goes like this. Real estate agent Knock sends his clerk Hutter to Transylvania to sell Count Orlok a house in Westburg. Despite ominous signs, Hutter goes to Orlok's castle. However, once there, Hutter notices strange things, like this, and realizes that Orlok is a vampire. Meanwhile, Orlok travels by ship to Westburg, feeding on the crew and causing the plague along the way. Once in Westburg, Orlok moves to the house across from Hutter's home and spreads the plague with his rats. Hutter hurries home to his wife Ellen. Upon learning about vampires, Ellen sacrifices herself to end the destruction. Part of what makes Nosferatu so scary is how they adapt Bram Stoker's novel. The most atmospheric section of the book are the opening scenes in Transylvania, and they really emphasize them in Nosferatu, making them about a third of the movie. Before you even get to the castle, there's a lot of great build-up. When Knock is telling Hutter about Transylvania, you can just tell that Knock has some connection with Orlok, and it creates an ominous feeling from the start. The suspense continues to build as we meet terrified Transylvanian villagers and see a werewolf. It's actually a hyena, but it's creepy, so it's okay. Then we finally meet Count Orlok, and it's just him and Hutter alone in the castle. Every interaction is spellbinding, and they even recreate my absolute favorite scene from the book when Hutter discovers Orlok's coffin, and Orlok is resting there with his eyes wide open. It really captures the terror of the book. Booga booga! However, where they deviate is when they get back to England, or in Nosferatu's case, Germany! In the book, the story essentially starts over. They focus on new characters like Professor Van Helsing, and it never really recaptures the atmosphere of Transylvania. However, in the movie, only the final third takes place back in Germany, so they're able to jump right into the action. They focus on the same main characters, and the horror has actually escalated, because now an entire town is being terrorized by Orlok's plague. When you see all the dead bodies, it really feels like an apocalypse. So instead of the story starting over, it actually becomes much tighter. And it feels much more like a grand topper to this creepy story. Also making the story creepy are the film's actors. Without a doubt, the scariest part about Nosferatu is Count Orlok, played by Max Schreck, whose last name means terror in German. Max Schreck was a loner? No way! And a method actor who specialized in playing strange and heavily made-up characters on the stage. In Nosferatu, he is so into his character that it actually started an urban legend that he really was a vampire. But of course, that's ridiculous. He has a bulbous head, rat-like teeth, and bat-like ears and long fingernails that grow throughout the film as he consumes more blood. He's a pure predator, my kind of a guy. He has piercing eyes and is very stiff and moves very slowly, but like an alligator stalking its prey, occasionally does a quick jerk, so you know he has speed when he needs it. However, instead of creating more vampires like Dracula, this charm boy brings an entourage of rats with him to spread the plague, so that his victims will just blend in. So Count Orlok is the embodiment of the fantasy terror of being bitten and the real-life terror of the plague. Along with Orlok, the other main character is Hutter, who is the Nosferatu version of Jonathan Harker, and is played by Gustav von Wangenheim. At the very least, this video will give you a taste for Wiener Schnitzel. Gustav is like the stereotype of a silent movie actor, with how he overacts. He has this childlike enthusiasm, but I actually like it because it comes across as a zest for life, which is a nice contrast to the corpse-like Orlok. The final character that I really like is Nock, played by the popular German character actor Alexander Granach. Nock is the Nosferatu version of Rainfield, and he's the one who sends Hutter to Transylvania. Nock is under Orlok's power from the beginning, and the title card says that there are unpleasant rumors about him, which is great because it allows you to think the worst. As Orlok becomes closer and his influence becomes stronger, Nock becomes crazier, begins eating bugs, and even kills a guard at the sanitarium. He doesn't have the sympathetic element that other Rainfields have, but this is a simplified version of the story, and he certainly adds to the danger and the spook factor. Also adding to the film's spook factor is its dreamlike quality. Watching Nosferatu is like watching a nightmare because of how it presents a distorted reality. Due to the low budget, Murnau had to shoot most of the movie on real locations, so it mirrors the real world. However, he also uses German expressionism, with the dark looming shadow of Orlok getting closer to his victims. There's also a dark fairy tale quality, because in the film, only a woman pure of heart offering her blood can make Orlok forget the crow of the cock. Incidentally, this is where the concept that sun can destroy vampires comes from. This mixture of fantasy and reality is enhanced even more because it is a silent movie, which by its nature offers a distorted reflection of our own reality, and makes Nosferatu feel even more like a twisted nightmare. Bram Stoker's widow, Florence Stoker, learned about Nosferatu through an advertisement in the mail, and after a 3-year legal battle, successfully sued Prana Films for copyright infringement, and ordered all prints of Nosferatu to be destroyed. Thankfully, several prints had already been sent overseas, which is the only reason Nosferatu still survives. Because of legal costs, Prana Films had to declare bankruptcy, making Nosferatu their only film. However, it has gone on to be one of the few silent films to become a cult classic. Its influence can be seen on countless other horror movies, including the 1931 Dracula starring Bela Lugosi, Stephen King's Salem's Lot, and Shadow of a Vampire, which offers a fictionalized account of the making of Nosferatu, where Max Schreck really is a vampire. Silent or talking, Nosferatu is one of the greatest vampire movies of all time. And even if you have no interest in silent movies, this one is so well done and so scary, you should definitely watch it anyway. And I give it 4 plague-infested rats out of 4. Thank you for watching Dusty Old Movies, and have a wunderbar day!